Hi everybody. It's a while since I've done a DVD collection video, so I thought I'd do another one. And sticking with the idea of doing themes for different videos, I'm going to be talking about British TV comedy on DVD. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of British comedy DVDs, so I'll try and get through as many as I can. And obviously I'm a fan of British comedy, being a British person myself. And I'd be interested to hear actually from you how many of these you know about in America, and if these have shown in America. I don't know how many of them have. I know stuff like The Office is very popular and has its own American version now, which I also have on DVD, but I'll show you that in a different video. Okay, so let's get going. So we have The Office. Obviously very well known. Great series. Not a great DVD. It's got quite a short documentary. I'd really like to hear a commentary from Ricky Gervais though, because if you listen to his podcasts with Steve Merchant and Carl Pilkington, he's really funny in that kind of audio area. Like DVD commentaries from Ricky Gervais are always very funny. But obviously that's a classic. That's the first series. I've also got the second series, which is there. And that was followed by the Christmas specials, and I believe that this had a free David Brent single in, singing If You Don't Know Me By Now and Free Love Freeway. So that's a little CD with a couple of tracks on, which is pretty funny, and they're all good. I'm glad they didn't make any more, actually. Well, apparently the American Office is doing really well, and that's up to, I don't know, 5 million episodes, whatever it is. American TV shows have so many episodes. Porridge, that's a classic, with Ronnie Barker, and what's his name? Oh, the guy, I can't remember, he died really young though. Can't remember his name now, that's weird. But anyway, Ronnie Barker was classic in that. Good old BBC sitcom. And I've got the first series and the third series. I haven't bought the second series for some reason. I think I must have got these in a sale, so I missed out on that. Then we have, what next? Phoenix Nights. This is really funny. This is Peter Kay, who's a very popular British comedian, stand-up comedian, and he's done lots of shows, TV shows as well. Phoenix Nights is very funny. It's set in like a club in northern England, like a really seedy, downbeat sort of club. But before that, he did that Peter Kay thing, which is this, and I think this is even funnier than Phoenix Nights, actually. He plays a different character in each one, which are apparently influenced by people that he knew when he grew up. And one of them, actually, this guy, Keith Lard, was too close to the original guy who was called Keith Laird, and like he tried to sue Peter Kay or something. That's quite funny though. The Royal Family, I've just got the first series of that. This was very popular as well. Not so popular these days, although they did have a special on Christmas a couple of years ago. But this was like a really big thing. It's the first kind of documentary style without audience laughter, I think. So that was kind of spawned a lot of things in its wake. Father Ted, this is great. This is Graham Linehan wrote this. He's written a lot of other things like Black Books and the IT Crowd, which we'll see in a minute. But this is really, really funny. It's sad that Dermot, what's his name? Dermot Morgan, was it? I can never remember his name. Yeah, Dermot Morgan. Shame that he died after the third series, because I think they could have done a couple more series. It's still so funny. But yeah, that's like the complete set with all three series in. Double Take, I actually got this in a pound store, which I think you have like 99-cent stores in America. We have pound stores where everything's £1, and it's actually quite funny. It's kind of, it takes the view of the idea behind it is that it's supposed to be CCTV camera footage of people like the Queen on the toilet there, and it's just really good lookalikes shot in a really clever way, so it looks really convincing. That's Robbie Williams, I think, so that's good. Look Around You, this is really, really funny. This is kind of a parody of 1970s shows for kids which were shown at school. They're like schools programs, educational science programs, but it's got a guy, Peter Serafinovich, in it, who's very funny, and you might recognise him. He's been in things like Shaun of the Dead. Then we've got Extras. That's the other Ricky Gervais one. I've only got the first series, but it's so funny that he's basically, this was after the success of The Office when he was quite well known, so he managed to get quite a lot of famous people into it. So you get people like Kate Winslet, Samuel L. Jackson, what's his name, Patrick Stewart. He's so funny in it, Captain Picard. I'm sure you know the bit when he's talking. He's like, "I've seen everything." He's talking about how he's got a script for a film coming up, and he's like, and all the women's clothes fall off in it, and they tried to scrub around, but of course by that stage I'd seen everything, and it's just so funny. Saxondale, this is Steve Coogan, who's quite a famous guy now. He's in stuff like Night at the Museum, but he's been on British TV for many, many years, and this is his other big series apart from Alan Partridge, which I'll show you in a second. But Saxondale's quite good. He plays kind of a grizzled ex-roadie who's now he just kind of leads a bit of a sad existence as a pest exterminator. And that's the second series, which is also funny. But a better character is Alan Partridge, and if you haven't seen Alan Partridge, you really owe it to yourself to see him, because he's so funny. He's kind of like a parody of light entertainment chat show hosts. There's a guy called Richard Madeley, who's in the UK, quite well known, and he's kind of a parody of him, but he's so funny. He started off with his own chat show, like a fake chat show with fake guests. It's all scripted, called Knowing Me, Knowing You. Then he went on to do I'm Alan Partridge, which is this one. Ooh, disc sounds loose inside. Oh no, I've got a copy of Team America in there as well for some reason. Who knows why. But this is really funny. I'm Alan Partridge was great. And it's kind of it's not a documentary series, but it kind of follows his life. Oh, hang on. That's my phone going off. Oh, there we go. It follows his life after the chat show and how he's kind of, it's kind of falling apart. And this is the second series as well, series 2. And this is just as good as the first, I think. And as well as Steve Coogan, I like Rob Brydon. He's this guy who's a Welsh actor, comedian, comic actor. And that's him with Steve Coogan. This is a one-off special they did called Cruise of the Gods, which is really funny. It's set on a fan cruise. I don't know if you know, like Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, that kind of thing. They have fan cruises where a couple of the stars go along and meet the fans, and it all looks a bit scary. And this is set on one of those. They kind of played people who starred in a 1980s sci-fi TV series, and they're washed up actors now. But that's really funny. And Rob Brydon was also in Marion and Jeff, which was really interesting. It's really, really funny, actually. This is one of my favourite comedies of all time. And it's just little pieces that he does to the camera. It's a guy who's split up with his wife, and he's got 2 kids from his marriage, and he basically adores his kids, and his wife has gone off with someone called Jeff, so hence the name Marion and Jeff. His name is actually Keith Barrett. And the first series is a series of 10-minute episodes. The second series is a series of 30-minute episodes. In the first series, it's a taxi driver. In the second series, he's a chauffeur. But it's really funny, very clever, quite dark, but gentle, still kind of gentle humour. So I really recommend that. And the Keith Barrett show live, he then went on to do a live tour as the same character when he gives marriage advice to couples, which is kind of ironic considering his marriage fell apart. And Rob Brydon also did director's commentary, which is really funny. It's kind of a piss take of DVD director's commentaries. I'm sure you've heard lots of them. This is kind of his director waffling on, being very self-indulgent, pretending that he directed stuff like Bonanza and the Newlywed Show, that kind of thing. So that's really good. What next? Okay, Trigger Happy TV. This was a very popular in the mid to late 90s. Dom Jolly, he basically did, it's a hidden camera show, but a very funny one. I remember thinking it was great, and so I've got the first series on DVD and the second series. And the third, which isn't actually the third series, it's kind of just bits and pieces, and it's quite funny. It's sort of a cash-in DVD, but Dom Jolly's quite upfront about that in his commentary. He's like, oh yes, this is the cash-in DVD. I can't believe you actually bought it. So, but it is still funny. Okay, then we've got Going Back in Time. We've got 40 Towers, Series 1 and Series 2. They're both great. Even though they were filmed a couple of years apart, all of the episodes they're all really funny. They're all equal quality. And the DVDs are quite interesting. There's a couple of documentaries on them, but the audio commentaries are really weird. They're kind of the original directors of the episodes, who are now quite old men, and they don't really they don't give a commentary on the episode. They just kind of watch it and laugh along at it. And one of the old guys, you can hear him eating biscuits and drinking tea throughout the whole thing. So it's sort of a uniquely British DVD commentary, but it's worth it for the shows alone. I mean, they're classics. As is Monty Python's Flying Circus, or Monty Python, as you American types insist on calling it. And this is a classic, quite a surreal sketch show which broke the mould of more traditional sketch show comedy from the 1960s. Best of Volume 1. This was a really early BBC DVD. I don't know if there was ever Volume 2, but I'm sure there's like complete editions been released since. And this is kind of a precursor to Monty Python. It's got 2 things on it: At Last, the 1948 show, and Do Not Adjust Your Set. And these are both old black and white sketch show comedies starring people who go on to be in Monty Python, like Eric Idle, Terry Jones, Michael Palin, and it's also got other British comedians like David Jason, who did stuff like Only Fools and Horses. Okay, so that will do it for the first half of the video. I shall see you in the second half of my guide to British comedy on DVD. Bye-bye.